Now, if there's one thing you would want to do in your lifetime, what would it be and why?
Um, One thing I would like to do in my lifetime. Um, I'm actually not sure. I think with me, it's always work-life balance. I've worked for, larger accounting firms where that probably isn't their objectives. It's, you work for the company and they'll take every blood, sweat, and tear out of you, and until you're exhausted. Um, but for me, it's always work-life balance. So if there's any one thing, it'll be more on that lifestyle basis. So it'll be, for me, it's always make sure that we get in, a decent holiday every year and spend time with the family. For me, is my number one goal is family time and having a break and unwinding. So my one thing every year, get your holidays, work hard, play hard.
Mm,
Have that proper balance in life. Don't let work consume you so much to exhaustion.
so true, so true. And and last but not least, any final words of wisdom you'd like to leave with us? What would it be?
I think it goes back to some of those points that we were talking about before. If you're going to go into property development,
Yeah.
focus on what you're good at. You're not going to be great at everything. You can learn a lot of aspects about property development in a lot of different areas, but focus on what your skill sets are and what you're great at, and then surround yourself with experts that are good in all of those other areas. That expert team, and particularly trusted experts, is really important in property development. Even from my own perspective, sometimes, I had to learn the hard way. And it was the reason why, if I backtrack to the reason why I set up the networking group in Melbourne with Property Developers Melbourne, the reason why I set up that networking group in the first place is because you don't know what you don't know until things go wrong. And where I thought I knew about a lot about property development and I thought I had a good team around me, I didn't realize how poor some of the experts were that I was dealing with until, excuse the French, but until shit hit the fan.
Mm,
So when I was developing property in the middle of the GFC,
yeah.
and basically I really had to roll up my sleeves and really had to take on board some of the other advisors. One of my, say for example, the project manager almost went amiss through the GFC. I had to essentially take on his job and his role to make sure our projects were successful, even though I had no idea or no skill sets or background in project management.
Mm,
I really, again, I had to roll up the sleeves, get into there, but then I had to rely on the bringing some other experts around to support me around me and really to be able to do that service myself. Otherwise, the project wouldn't have been successful. So again, that the idea of starting up the networking group was to expand my networks within the property development industry. So I had a number of different networks, or well, now I've got 16,000 members within our networking group. So there's probably not an issue that I would have in property development right now that I wouldn't have a trusted expert that I could go to help me solve that particular issue.
mm.
So surround yourself with your experts, and don't be complacent as well. Don't think because you've done developments a number of times that you can't continuously educate yourself. I'm always looking for ways to educate myself in whether it's property development from a from a financing perspective, whether it's from as an accountant, I always, and as a CPA, I have to update my knowledge on tax and advisory services on an annual basis anyway. But again, mine's singularly focused on tax. So I'm never going to stop learning about tax and accounting issues associated with property development transactions. One, because I have to, but secondly, I'm interested in it as well, and that's what makes me a good advisor. So continue to learn, continue to challenge yourself. Don't be complacent and rest on your laurels from your previous successes that you've had. Sometimes, again, I get developers that are even career developers that still make mistakes, 20 years, 30 years into developing, because they get complacent. And I've had a developer say, for example, you don't want to be complacent in this environment and going into doing a financial feasibility saying, okay, 2 years ago I did the last project and my construction costs were X amount of dollars. That's what I'm going to put in my feasibility for this next project that I'm looking to acquire, or this next site I'm looking to acquire. As we know, if you took those steps without doing your research and without contacting all of your builders within your network to inquire about what the construction costs are, you could make a disastrous mistake and disastrous assumption by being complacent about it. So don't be complacent. Continue your education. Always educate yourself.
Excellent.